Hi team, it's Kate from the Fold Line and we are back this week with a new video. This week we are doing the Sew Down, which is our monthly roundup of interesting stuff that we've seen and read and sewn and listened to in the world of sewing, and a bit of extra, just stuff that I think you guys might find interesting. Right, so I've got quite a few things to talk to you about. So grab a cup of tea, pause this, make a cup of tea or coffee, and we'll get started. So first thing I have to talk to you about, so every month I talk about a fabric either that I bought or something I found, a pattern designer that you may not have heard of, and then I talk about sort of community challenges and other interesting articles and things. So fabric, let's start with fabric. This company is called Lumen Stars. They contacted us to advertise on our site, and I just wanted to share them with you because you might not have seen them, and this isn't paid for. I just really thought that their site was really interesting, and I think you guys might like their stuff as well. So anyone who loves Indian ikats and sort of quite like natural fibres, this site is totally for you. The reason I'm sharing is I'm kind of obsessed with ikats, which is where the print is woven into the fabric. And so Lumen Stars are a sister company. Two sisters run it together. One's based in America and one is based in India, and they source all the fabrics together and they talk about how they're all made. It's kind of like slow fashion sort of vibe to it, but their stuff is really beautiful. Really interesting, and a lot of the ikat fabrics I've seen around and about are quite similar. You see the same print at lots of different fabric companies, and they've actually got stuff I've never seen before. So they're definitely worth going and checking out if you like that sort of natural linen-y feel. They're based in the US, but they do ship over to the UK, and the shipping costs aren't crazy, so it's definitely worth having a look at. Next pattern company that you may not have heard of, they are called Workshop. They are based in Leeds, and she's actually got a bricks and mortar cafe cum workshop, and she teaches classes there, and I was looking at the site earlier and looks really cute. But she also has this range of really beautiful sewing patterns. So she's got 4, 8, 12, 6, so she's got 4, 8, 12. She's got 12 patterns in her range. I really like them because they're all quite simple, quite understated. I'll show you some pictures so you can see the sort of vibe. Not fussy, but everything in it is really, really wearable. I think she kind of, they're quite British in design. I think there's that sort of understated, sort of pared back sort of feeling to them, but they're all things that I think are quite kind of staples that you would want in your wardrobe. So yeah, I'll pop links to everything I talk about down below so you can go and have a look at her patterns. I should say that they come in sizes 6 to 16, so they're a slightly narrower size range on those. Right, next up, just a little like PSA. I'm really excited. We're going to the new Craft House summer party which is this weekend. Anyone who's going, hopefully I will see some of you there. It's really fun if you haven't been before. It's they do a good party, the new Craft House, but I'll pop a link so you can go and have a look. I think the tickets actually have sold out now. I'm looking at it, so that's not particularly helpful, but they do them I think twice a year. They do one around Christmas time and they do one in the summer, and they're really good fun, and everyone gets to sort of talk about what they've made, and they have a theme each time. So this time is the Italian Riviera, and I have to go and hunt through my handmade wardrobe to find something perfect for this. So yeah, that should be really, really good and something nice. We've had quite a lot of messages recently about online sewing classes and courses and where to do them. There are a few places, so I just thought I'd just do a very quickly. Closet Case Patterns do some online courses slightly more in the advanced range. Tilly and the Button also does some good online courses. The other thing that's just kind of newish is Sew Over It have launched, it's called, what's it called? The Stitch School. And this is like a subscription base, which is quite interesting. I haven't seen any other sewing company do anything like this. And Sew Over It have obviously been teaching people for, what, 6-7 years now. So they really know what they're doing. They had quite a few online classes, but they've now got this subscription where you can pay. They've got 3 different tiers of payments. So you can pay a basic, which is £5 a month. And with that, you sort of get access to lots of videos for kind of tips and tricks videos, how to put in an invisible zip, that sort of thing. Then if you pay £15 a month, which is the premium one, you also get access to all of their online classes, which also come with patterns. So actually that probably is like, it's pretty good value, because you get a pattern, you get a class, and you get access to all the good stuff. So they're definitely worth checking out, and I think it's interesting, you know, it might be worth signing up for a couple of months and see whether it works for you. But I think it's an interesting idea, and I haven't really seen any other sewing pattern companies do this. So next up, I've got a few things that I've read that I thought were quite interesting articles that I think you guys might like to read as well. So the first one is on BBC News, and it's called The Real Price of Buying Cheap Clothes. Obviously there is a lot of stuff around this topic at the moment, but this one was quite sort of in-depth actually, because I found quite a lot of those ones are quite fluffy. They don't really get into any of the detail, but this one was really interesting. There's lots of kind of good facts in there, and I think it's definitely worth a read. I found it really interesting, and a bit about the production process of clothing on mass scale. So yeah, that was really interesting and definitely worth checking out. The next one I've got is how craftivists found their radical voice. This is on The Guardian. This is really interesting. It's about, you know, being an activist and a craft person, and how those two have kind of merged together, using craft for sort of political expression. I guess that's what I was trying to say in a bad way. It's really interesting. I really definitely think you should go and have a look at it. I'm sure a lot of you remember those, oh gosh, I can't even remember what they're called now. Those pink hats that everyone wore, the little like cat hats that everyone wore at all of those marches. Yeah, it's really interesting. Go and have a look. I'm sorry, you know how last week I was joking, calling myself Rubbish Kate, which I shouldn't have done, but this week I'm still not able to talk properly for some weird reason. Next up, I've got another article. It's on BBC News, and it's with Stella McCartney, Should We Stop Washing Our Clothes? I found this quite interesting, about how often you should wash your clothes, and about chemicals used in chemicals that are in washing liquids and stuff, and how they affect the fibres of your clothing. This one is a little bit fluffy, if I'm being honest, but it's quite an interesting little read. And yeah, I mean, the one thing they were talking about is whether you change your bra every day and wash it every day. I really definitely do not do that. I mean, that seems a bit extreme, so I'm probably on the grubbier end of this. What else have I got? Yeah, so that's it for the reading. I've got one little, like, a charity event which I thought I would share. It's called On the Button. It's a big vintage button sale in Edinburgh. It's on the 7th of September, and it's to raise money for Marie Curie cancer care. And if you're up there, I definitely think it's worth going and checking it out. I think you have to pay to get in. Maybe you don't. No, maybe you don't have to pay in, but all the proceeds go to the cancer charity, which is fantastic. And yeah, I thought that was quite a nice little thing going on in Edinburgh. Right, so I've got 2 community challenges for you guys. The first one is called Alter It August, and this is arranged by at sewn north on Instagram. So this is, again, going back to sort of sustainable sewing, altering clothes that you already own or handmade items that you've already got that don't fit you anymore, if you've changed shape or whatever. And yeah, I thought it was quite a nice idea. The hashtag is Alter It August, and yeah, I thought this might be like a fun sort of thing to get involved with. I definitely need the push with stuff like altering clothing because it's not the funnest thing to do. It's much more fun to start something and make it from scratch than alter something that you already have. But it's a very valid point. We should be doing that a little bit more, and I definitely should than I do. So that's the first one. The second one is done by Girls in the Garden. It's called the Pattern Mashup. I really like the idea of this. So what it is, you use 2 patterns, mash them together, see what they did there, and share a picture of it. There's lots of prizes that can be won as well. The hashtag is social mashup. And yeah, I'll pop links again so you can go and have a bit of a read, but I really like the idea of mixing 2 patterns because I think it's an interesting idea because within the sewing industry and within our community, everyone makes the idea that you make your own clothes, no one else will have it. But actually quite a lot of us end up making the same stuff, and I've definitely been to sewing events, which obviously I know are quite niche, but you turn up and you're like, oh, you're wearing an Anna dress, you're wearing an Anna dress. And I love the idea of actually pushing your skills, your pattern cutting skills and your fitting skills and mixing and matching, because that's what really kind of, I don't know, that's when you get really creative. So I thought this was a really nice kind of, very nice little sort of a thing to get involved in. Right, next, stuff to listen to, and this is my final section. So there's a really interesting series on Women's Hour, BBC Radio 4, where they are talking through items of clothing and the history of that item of clothing. The first one that has been on is about the kaftan, and it was really fascinating, and I definitely think you should sort of listen to this because I think it'll be a really lovely series. And I love the idea that people are talking about iconic items of clothing and the history of them because I quite often don't know. So yeah, I listened to that and that was really good. Podcasts, I've got 2 podcasts for you that I am really enjoying. The first one, and this is for not sewing related, true crime lovers, In the Dark. Rachel actually got me on to this. Really enjoyable. It's a little bit like anyone who's into true crime. It's a bit like Serial in the fact that they have a series about one particular crime. It's in its 2nd series now, and I binged both of them in one delicious chunk. So they're really good. They're really well produced. If you like true crime, this is definitely worth going and having a listen to. And something a little bit more light-hearted in the other podcast. I think I've spoken about this before, but I really love them, so I'm going to talk about it again. It's Table Manners with Jessie Ware and her mother. They interview someone famous every week and they get them to come over to their houses. It's just really nice listening. You know, Desert Island Discs, it's got that vibe. It's really nice to listen to. Everyone is kind of happy, and they have the mother and Jessie and her mum bicker, and it's just, yeah, it's really nice to listen to. I am also going to ask your help. I need some more podcasts. So if anyone has got true crime, which I am obsessed with, and I listen to quite a few of them, or something just kind of enjoyable and light-hearted, I'm sort of on the hunt for some new ones. So if you have got something that you're listening to and you really enjoyed, share it below, because we can all kind of discover new stuff then, and that's what it's all about. So I hope you enjoyed that. I will be back soon with another video. Have a lovely weekend all. Bye.